What's up, and welcome back to Opposites Attract Podcast. This is Sonja Ramirez, your girl, and I'm sitting next to
Miguel Ramirez.
What's up, everybody? How was your day?
How was your week?
How is your life?
Going. And make sure you guys go to our website, oppositesattractpodcast.com. And when you guys go to our website, you'll see all the ways that you can follow the show. The best thing that you guys could do to help us out is to share this with somebody else, share a clip, go to our Opposites Attract Podcast clips channel, and you'll find all of our clips there. We don't put them on the other channels anymore, and you guys can find a clip, share it with somebody, let them know about the podcast, watch them subscribe to the podcast right there on the spot, and comment, like, and all that stuff.
All that good stuff.
Yeah.
So congratulations to you, babe.
Thanks, babe.
Why do you look so surprised?
Congratulations for what?
For getting it in this morning.
Oh, yeah. Damn, for reals? Yeah.
So, no, really, congratulations on.
I didn't realize we were gonna start the podcast with that. All right.
You're fighting for your life podcast. Like, you have guests. Like, you're just making it happen.
It's crazy. I got to pick it up. I was talking to you about it. Like I'm trying to think about what's happened. Well, we can share a little bit.
Let's talk about last night. So we went on a date last night, very last minute, right? And
we went to go see the comedian Brian Callen.
Yes. Dude, he's hilarious. He's funny as shit.
He's got a special on Amazon Prime called Complicated Apes. That one's awesome. We watched that one actually on the way home from Sedona with the kids. And his comedy is like very thoughtful, funny.
What makes him so funny? You cut me off, you jerk.
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
What makes him so funny is that his jokes are relatable. When he's talking about getting old, when he was up there joking about like just the way his body is, I looked at you and I just started laughing so hard because like that is you.
He was talking about like having to get into a fight. He's like, I'm going to have to stretch. You know, if somebody breaks into the house before he rolls out, he's got to do his fucking ankle twirls to stretch out a little bit. I was like, oh my God.
Because whenever Miguel steps off of the bed and onto the floor, you crack your freaking ankles.
All you hear is fucking crackling. It sounds like Rice Krispies treats when I wake up.
It was just hilarious because I'm listening to this man and watching his mannerisms are just the funniest shit ever. And it was a packed house. I mean, literally packed house. Dude, we were elbow to elbow.
Dude, and you know what? Awesome night. Yes, like everybody that we had around us was cool. The people next to us, the people behind us. Right. The show was great. Yes. After the show was great. Yes. It was all incredible.
But hold up. So, as some of you know that listen or have been listening to us, Miguel and I actually it was Miguel who decided that he was going to fast, right? No alcohol, no caffeine, right? And I'm just like, oh, whatever, because I don't drink a lot of caffeine anyways, like coffee, and I don't really drink a lot anyway. So, okay, let's do this. So we've been doing it, and then we go to this comedy show. Normally, we have some drinks when we go to a comedy show. Well, last night, here we are drinking virgin drinks, and all of a sudden, this big dude, what was he, like 6'4"? I mean,
at least.
Huge dude, right? Yeah. And not just tall. But he was like a corned beef, like farm.
Corn-fed? Is that one of those fucking like a farmer's kid?
Right? Yeah. Doesn't he? That's the image.
He was like an offensive lineman in the NFL.
Huge and fun as shit. Just a good guy. Like, he's just like, I'm buying the table drinks for the rest of the night. Yeah. And I was like, what? So he was ordering bottles and
I was like, wah, wah, wah.
I know. And I'm like, I look at him, I'm like, are you serious? And he's like, yes. And I'm like, the night that we are not drinking, and it was just a very cool. Yeah, it was so fun.
We had a blast.
Yes. And we weren't even drinking.
Nope.
And it's been like that, babe.
Yeah.
The last parties that we went to, we weren't drinking.
No.
And we had a great time.
Yeah.
It's because we're high off life.
That's right.
We are high off life.
Dude, it was a blast. It was so much fun. And then, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, share.
Yeah, so we're hanging out. And if you guys know Brian Callen, he's super funny, like we said. He's also friends with Joe Rogan and Like he's into the UFC and knows a bunch of UFC people. And I should have like guessed it. But I thought about it. Like once they showed up, I was like, oh yeah, of course you're going to see some fighters at the show. And we had a couple fighters that came, or there was a bunch. I mean, they were all together that we met yesterday. And we met Henry Cejudo, who is a 2-division UFC champion and an Olympic gold medalist in wrestling. And another fighter, Kelvin Gastelum, who's fought for the title. I mean, I've watched a bunch of his fights, and that dude is awesome too. And we talked to them about my fighting podcast. We talked to the Brian Callen about our podcast. He said, hit me up, gave us his email. So
he said yes. I'll do it.
They all said yes. Dude, you know, and so after the show, like we were just, you know, we had a blast. We were still, you know, it was awesome. But after the show, I'm kind of like putting things together. Like, I'm like, okay, so what's going to happen here? Because I also have a new episode that just came out today, which we're recording this on Saturday. But yeah, so yesterday, if you guys are listening to it when it comes out, for my fighting podcast. And that episode, go check that out, fightingforyourlifepodcast.com, Fight Life Pod on everything. But this last interview was with one of my friends, one of my training partners, Chris Howard. And we were talking about a nonprofit that he created for veterans to help veterans when they're getting out of the military. Veterans, it's pretty much just supporting veterans that struggle with PTSD. And he started something where, you know, he wants to give them that sense of purpose again. Because a lot of times, like when you're in the military, you have a mission, you have a code of honor that you kind of like live by and all these things. But then when you get out, you lose that community. Like you're not part of that community anymore. You're not working. Like you lose everything like that. And it's hard for people. Like I used to joke around that it seems like veterans go through this homeless phase when they get out of the military. Like everybody stops shaving. They stop working out. You know, you almost start looking homeless. Yeah. And, that's what he wants to help people with his Veterans Breakthrough. Like the transitioning? It's the transitioning. And it's really just being there to support veterans. And one of the things that he's doing is he's putting on a jiu-jitsu tournament March 2nd. If you guys are listening to this, if you guys have any kids that are into jiu-jitsu, look up veteransbreakthrough.com. The kids can sign up. Very cheap tournament compared to some of the other ones. And it's going to be a smaller thing, so it's not as crazy as some of the big tournaments. But what he's doing is he's trying to raise money so that he can pay for a veteran and their family a yearly membership so that they can train jiu-jitsu and they can have that community again. Because you know what it's like when we, like with the guys in the gym, it's very hard to find that bond with people outside of the military. There's sports that has that, like playing football, being on a team of certain things, like it has that type of thing. And you definitely get that in jiu-jitsu. And that's what, you know, he wants to help people with. So that's what the podcast is about, if you guys want to check that out. But so yeah, he came on, and because we have this show and I have the fighting show, like we have a lot going on, right? And I was tired of thinking about, like just thinking about the podcast, the fighting podcast. You know, I wanted to make it real. So like you guys know, I made a decision. And I was like, time to start working on the logo, time to start getting, you know, start lining things up. And this is the day that my first episode comes out. But because I know we have so much going on, I committed to doing one episode a month. Right. Now, I have some friends that I want to help with my friend with Chris and Phil and everybody else that's involved in Veterans Breakthrough. I want to help them, you know, because that's the whole point. I mean, it's called Fighting for Your Life, and that's what they're doing. Right. You know, so I want to help them out. But it's hard when you have a monthly episode. And now we've met some people that would be perfect for this, that could help grow this. But it would be hard to interview people and then put that interview in the can for like 4 months, 5 months. And then it comes out like, and the stuff that we're talking about may not even be relevant, you know, some of the things. So, you know, I'm starting to think of like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, what should I do? And not what should you do, what do you want to do? Yeah. I mean, well, what is the purpose? What is the goal of this thing, right? Right. So initially it was like, yeah, one podcast a month, but now we have some opportunities coming up. And if I was to continue with this one podcast a month, that could be letting the opportunity slip by because it's too slow. So now I'm kind of thinking like, well, what do I need to do? And maybe what it's going to be is I need to start doing 2 podcasts a month. And at least that will kind of give me a little bit more activity and more posts, which will give it more traction and hopefully grows a little more, grows this a little more. And then, but that's how things happen. You know, the waffle cone or whatever, that came out of necessity. Some dude was selling ice cream and ran out of cups and saw a dude selling waffles. And he was like, let me get those so that I can keep selling ice cream.
Right. Yeah.
If he didn't do that, he would have just been sitting there with melted ice cream.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I've been thinking about since last night is just, you know, got to take advantage of this opportunity that we have. And I'm super excited about it, you know, and there's always that fear. You get that feeling. It's not that feeling of fear, but it's that commitment.
Yeah.
Because I know that if I have to do these things, I have to commit to these things, things may start being different. I'm pretty comfortable. What if things take off and I have the opportunity to make more money or whatever? Like even still, like this is the goal, but it's hard. I have a secure job. Yes. You know, like that is always like a risk that you're taking. But this is life. So
you just lined it up perfect for me. Can you do me a favor?
What's up?
If it's not that difficult for you, I have my frame.
Yes, I'll grab it.
So when was it when she dropped that off? Sometime,
earlier this week?
Yeah, earlier this week. I'm putting together this 4-hour retreat here in Arizona, in North Scottsdale. And a few of the women from my first retreat are attending. And I call one of my clients who's a friend of mine, Kelly, that I've known since 5th grade, 6th grade, 5th grade, somewhere around there. And I'm talking to her and she's like, hey, I want to drop something by, for you. Are you going to be home? And I'm like, yeah. And I had no idea, like just zero idea.
Yeah.
And she comes over and she brings me this painted picture. It's going to be very hard, probably difficult to see on the podcast. But this is a picture of all the women. Like we took a picture together.
Dude.
And then she had her mother-in-law create the painting with all of us in it. And it's one of my favorite pictures that was taken at the event. And I just melted. I'm just like,
dude, it was making me emotional when I saw it. Because I know how special that is. That is your first retreat. That is like that captures that moment of.
And I remember like all of us just laughing, and it was so cold that day. It was so cold. And we were just like, yeah, our daughter is up in the tree with Kelly at the very top.
Yeah.
And not only did she put it in a frame for me, she also had another painting. And this was such a special activity. I have to ask her, how did you even know? Like, how did you even know? Because these both of them meant so much. Like this activity was mind blowing.
What was that activity?
This activity is,
what is that picture?
I had them
or painting
creating a card for themselves. And one says congratulations. A lot of them say congratulations. And they got to create and draw whatever came to their heart. And I know the stories behind every one of them, by the way, because we went around in a circle.
Was that a picture?
And yes.
Okay.
And we shared what was on the inside of the card. And I had them write a letter to themselves.
Yeah.
To remind them of what they learned about themselves and what they're committing to. So when they leave the retreat, they have something that they can open and read to remind them
Yeah.
And yeah, it was such a beautiful thing. And while I'm sitting here looking at the picture of the painting of all of us, I started to remember everything that I did to get me where I am today. Leaving my career after 8 years as being a paralegal.
Yeah.
To work Legal Shield as an entrepreneur. That shit was scary.
Yeah.
I had nobody to pay my mortgage. I had nobody to pay my car payment. And what is so crazy was that I wasn't even scared. I was excited.
Yeah.
Crazy shit. Like I was very spontaneous. Like when I was younger. And maybe it's because I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. So
that is,
I just had to fly. And if I didn't, right? Like I was going to find my wings on the way down. And there was no one else that I was responsible for but me. So that's probably what made it that much easier. But too, what made it that much scarier is that I didn't have you in my life to help me pay the mortgage.
yeah.
Right? So if I didn't have that payment, I could possibly lose my house because I didn't have anyone to help me. But that wasn't even a thought back then.
Yeah.
And then going from Legal Shield after a decade of being in that business and then creating Trust Inc. and then dissolving that business and then creating the coaching business. Like those were all leaps of faith that I had to take. But imagine what if I allowed fear to stop me from taking those leaps of faith?
Yeah.
I can't imagine because I love what I do. It's fulfilling. It's hard to put it into words, but my life would be totally different if I allowed fear to stop me.
Yeah.
And I'm just so grateful that I was not that. And I'm so grateful that I had you in my corner to support me and be like, yeah, babe, let's go. Like, let's go. You got this.
Yeah.
Because it also gave me that I can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It is scary because like I just said, I've been like, that was a thought that crossed my mind and it's a good thought. It's a good thought to have to like contemplate. Like, do I have to leave work because I don't have time because I'm making more money doing my side thing than I make in my job, or because I'm making these connections and opportunities are coming up? Like I said, my job is secure. But I think not always. I can't say, but it's something that I need to be conscious of. But I think I do okay with it. That when I get these feelings, I lean into it.
And that's exactly what you're supposed to do.
You know, it's like, this is scary. I don't want to sign up for this tournament. I don't even want to fucking do jiu-jitsu. Like those guys look like they're fucking each other up. And then you step on the mat and then it gets even worse. Because then you fucking start doing it. It's like, wow, I know less than I thought I did.
Right.
You know, like I know how my body should move from the YouTube videos, but my body doesn't move like that right now. You know, eventually it will.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
You know, but yeah, it's one of those things you gotta, but if you really think about it, like I was just kind of running through this in my head. It's like, okay, things start taking off. I meet some people, we get some opportunities, the podcast grows, your coaching business grows, and it's like, maybe I need to start focusing on some of this other stuff, and this is going to be really fun to do or whatever, but it is scary to leave a secure income. But that doesn't mean that if things don't work out, why can't I just go back and get a job doing what I was doing? It's not like I'm not good at it. It's not like I don't know what I'm doing. It's not like all that just goes away. So maybe we struggle for a little while and then I get a job again. Like that could happen too. And that's not a big deal. But I tried. But a lot of times I think we feel like when we stop something, it's over forever. Mm-hmm. You know, it doesn't have to be. It may not be. And maybe it is. And maybe that's a good thing. maybe it's not, and you can come back. It's not that, like, you're not going to die. Right? I think we always, like, that is the ultimate outcome. I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to chase my fucking podcast dream. The shit's not going to work. We're going to die. We're going to starve. We're going to die.
I'm okay with dying. We're going to be fine.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's like, we're always in that extreme.
Right. Yeah. Versus like what you said, just leaning into it, like lean into it. Most people don't want to feel uncomfortable. They don't want to feel uncomfortable.
There was something that, what was I listening to? Was it the Steve Hardison? I don't know. Maybe if I mention it, you might remember. But I think that there was something that I was listening to that was like, it was like the base of all fears is death.
Yes.
Was that did it come from
he
one
had
of those?
Mentioned something like that.
It's like even one of exactly your even one of those little fears. It's like it's always like, oh, it's because you're gonna die eventually, or something like that, right?
Yeah, he was saying that don't sweat the small stuff, and everything is small stuff, including death. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, I can't.
So maybe that was something else.
Maybe it was something else, but I have to find it. If I find it, I'll bring it back to you guys. But yeah, but no, it's exciting. I mean, I'm super excited for what's happening. So if you guys are listening to the Fighting Podcast, you might, or you will start seeing more episodes coming out here soon.
Yeah, very cool. Yes, yes. So this month has been great. Really good. We had some company, some friends from Russia. You got to meet them. Germany. Sorry. Yeah, that's right.
I'm bad with geography, and I figured out what was going on.
He's from Serbia, right? Serbia.
That's the problem.
That's what it was. Because I said, okay, yep.
Serbia. And then I'm like, wait. And because I asked our friend Wolfgang, I was like, where is Serbia? And he was like, oh, it's by Greece and this and that. And I'm not like the best when it comes to maps, but I'm like, I have a feeling like Greece isn't like over by Russia. I think it's like Europe, you know? And then I was like, then why the hell? I was like, I'm pretty sure there's like a really cold place in Russia. And I think it's Serbia.
So we got those two confused.
So when he was explaining, I'm like, what the hell? And then all of a sudden I was like, Siberia? I was like, oh, I thought they were from Siberia.
Yes.
So that's what it was.
Okay, very cool. It was awesome having, them here and just the way that they live. And the difference, here in America compared to there. And it's hilarious because everything's bigger here. Like, that's what they were saying. Really? Everything is bigger here. Like, they were in awe of our stove.
Really?
Yeah. And our fridge.
Yeah, I did say, they did say something about the fridge.
And the sink.
Really?
She said, everything's bigger here, And it's funny because who else did I have before them? Who was here? Oh, Joyce.
Oh, really?
From Germany as well.
Yeah, she came from Germany too. Yeah.
Yes. And she was saying the same thing when we went to Costco and I got these strawberries.
Shit, you take somebody to Costco, of course things are bigger.
And she's like, these are strawberries? And I said, yes. She's like, wow.
Yeah.
But just listening to the difference of how they live there and even how they are, like they're very organic eaters.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just a big thing there.
But
it seems like it is.
I think it's Europe. Europe has healthier food.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we saw it when we were in Spain and when we were in Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had that experience.
But it was great having them and then them seeing us, like our family, because he's listened to our podcast.
Yeah.
And you can play the part.
What's that?
On a podcast. Like, our family is amazing and our kids are so good and we love each other, and you can play all that.
Right.
Kind
of like Oprah.
Wait, don't get into that
Sorry.
yet, man. And he's just like, it was a very good experience to be around your family. He's like, it's very peaceful here.
Yeah.
And your kids are very innocent.
Yeah.
And that could be like, and I understand when he said that, I understood what he meant. Because they are like, they have that pureness, that heart, that just, you know? And so it was like, thank you, you know, just thank you for, you know, like seeing us.
Yeah.
But it was, great to have them. And my events today, I'm excited for that.
Yeah. Before we get into your event real quick. So there was something that happened earlier in the week. I want to mention it because it has to do with our kids. There was something that happened earlier in the week, and I don't remember. I think, Joe, you were upstairs. You were laying in bed, or you were on the bed, and Joey went up there, and you guys were just hugging. And I went over and I gave you guys a hug. And then there was also another moment down in the kitchen or on the dining table where I was sitting there, and Joey came by. And he came, and like you could see when he's coming to you, right? And he kind of puts his arm around my head, and he kind of comes and sits in my lap. And he's 12. He'll be 13 this year.
Jeez. You old.
And you know, I just look at him sitting on my lap.
This big ass
kid sitting on my lap. And then he puts his head on my shoulder. Yeah. You know, he's like squeezing me. And if you squeeze, like, you don't squeeze him, he's going to squeeze you no matter what. Right. He's going to give you a good hug. Yeah. And it just started giving me that feeling of gratitude of having a kid that's like him. And our daughter's the same way. She's very affectionate, very loving. And I was like being grateful. I was feeling grateful for having a son like that. And I was feeling it. And I think the very next day I'm at work, and you freaking send me a picture of me and Joey laying on the couch from when he was a baby, and he's passed out with his arms just like all over me because we had been cuddling.
Yes.
And dude, I was already thinking about this shit for the last 2 days or whatever. And I'm sitting in my fucking desk, and I'm like, oh. I was like, fuck, I hope nobody fucking walks by right now. They'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? You know? Yeah. But, you know, and when he was sitting in my lap in the kitchen, you know, I told him, I was like, are you always going to do this? Like, I was like, dude, you're turning 13 this year. I was like, are you always going to sit in my lap? I was like, you can sit in my lap for as long as you want. I don't give a shit, dude.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I'll sit in your lap, you know? Yeah. But I know it's nice to think about. That's not how life goes. But
I don't know. That's what we were
he's
saying,
not going to be fucking 40 sitting in my lap, all right, when I'm, you know.
He's going to be sitting in my lap. This big ass kid.
But, you know, to just appreciate it and to take advantage of it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, while we can. Yeah.
This morning.
So this morning was another, I was thinking about it again.
Yeah.
You know.
I called him over. I asked you to go grab him, and I wanted to lay with him.
The four of us in the bed, just me and you on the outside. Joey, who's 12, going to be 13 on one side. Yep. And Audrey, who's 14, going to be 15 in the middle. Them two in the middle. And we're just all hugging on the bed. Yeah.
Like, those are the moments, man. Like, that's what life is about. It's that. You know, we get everything just so confused. We get so confused because we're comparing ourselves to everyone else and what they have and all this other shit that doesn't really matter. It's just all extra.
Yeah.
And
you don't need money for that.
No.
You don't need a super nice house for that.
It's living in the present moment. Yeah. It's really is. Think about it. When did the transition happen for you? When you started slowing down and tapping into all of your senses. You became more conscious. You became more aware. And you started to see them. You started to see me. You started to see you.
No.
And once you realize how important living in the present moment is, it's easy. The more practice, the more you practice, the more you aware you become, the more mindful you become. You're just living in that state. And there's times where you disconnect because of stress or shit that's happening, things that are going around. But then you become aware and you're like, okay, I need to get back in my lane. And you'll apologize, do whatever, do what you have to do to get back connected, get back into the now. And there's your peace. That's where peace is. That's where peace lies. That's where joy lies. And that's where unconditional lives. That's where it all lies. Within the now. Being present, being aware, being mindful.
Yeah.
Putting the phone down. Ooh, Brian Callen shared that shit with us yesterday. The importance of it.
Yeah. He said he bought his kid an iPhone, hasn't seen him since.
And then he talked about the logo.
Ooh. The iPhone's made by the devil. That's why it's the apple with the bite taken out of it.
Oh, man.
Anyway, there's conspiracy theories.
Dude, he went pretty deep last night, though, towards the end, good, right? Yeah.
No, he does. I mean, he breaks it down. Look at the Complicated Apes. You guys check it out on Amazon Prime. The way he ends that one, like he's the one talking about the Cookie Monster saves lives.
Yeah.
You know, he's joking around about this lady who's out of shape and all this stuff. And then in the end, she freaking saves the day and tries to console him, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah.
And that's where judgment comes into play. Right? That was his judgment against her.
Right. Oh my God, this fucking
and
funny.
He had it all.
I don't want to give up his shit.
He had it all wrong.
Right.
How many times do we do that? How many times do you judge someone that you don't even know? Like you haven't even spoke to them, but you already perceive what they're about, not knowing anything about them. And then you get to know them and you're like, oh my gosh, what an amazing person. Yeah. It's kind of like what Steve Hardison, what he said on the BNS. He's like, people ask me all the time, and this is me, so I understand and I can relate to him. People ask me all the time, how can you love someone you don't know? Yeah. How can you love someone you don't know? And he says, the same way you can hate someone that you don't know.
Yeah.
The same way you can judge someone that you don't know.
I'll tell you one, Donald, not Trump, but Donald that I worked with at MD Helicopters. I remember, this is a lesson that I remember. And I've mentioned it before, but his name, like I'll always probably remember his name because of this experience. But I remember people put it in my head that he was an asshole. Mm-hmm. And I remember hearing it, and I was just expecting him just to be an asshole. And then I worked with the guy. And then I was like, he's not a bad dude. Actually, he's nice. He's a nice guy. Mm-hmm. I was like, why? Like, I had a bad picture of him in my head before I ever even knew him. I was like, that's pretty jacked up. Mm-hmm. And then from that moment forward, like I remembered, like that was back. So it had to be like 2008, 2009, you know, because that's when I was there. And like from that moment on, I always, whenever I would see somebody or whatever, and I would start thinking some things, I'm like, or not.
Yeah.
Or not.
We do that all the time. You heard me talk to the kids about it.
Yeah.
One of their friends would, told Audrey something about a teacher. So Audrey, I told her, I said, don't go into that classroom with that thought in your head. You get to know that teacher.
Right.
And we do it all the time. Oh, that wasn't a good movie. Oh, that movie, blah, 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 blah.
Find out for yourself.
Or someone. You're talking about someone. You're gossiping about someone to someone. And that someone doesn't even know the person you're gossiping about. But say there's a party and then they meet this person and they're already with the wall up because of what was planted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that happens in all kinds of things.
And I think
not just relationships.
And I think there's there is also, because I've also heard like don't judge a book by its cover, right?
Right.
There's a fucking reason why books have covers. So that you could judge the fucking book by the cover. That's the reason for the cover. And I think like there's differences.
Right.
Because this is not that. Because I had already made a determination on who Donald was before I met him. Now, once I meet him, pretty quickly, I don't have to get to know everything about him. Mm-hmm. But pretty quickly, I'm going to get a sense of who Donald is. And then I can start making some determinations for myself. And that may be judging the book by the cover because you don't know, you haven't read the whole book.
Right.
You've only read the cover, and the cover is enough for me to know that maybe I don't want to read the rest of this book.
Right. But even if you feel that way, to not speak ill about that person to someone else because you don't know the full story.
Yeah. Something related to this, which we'll get into here in a second. After you guys go to oppositesattractpodcast.com and you guys follow our podcast on all the different social medias. When you guys go to our website, you'll see all the ways that you can follow us at the top at Opposite Pod on all the different social medias, or search Opposites Attract Podcast, or you can just Google it. At this point, you can find us. We're not the other ones that are out there. You guys know what we look like. The best thing, like we said before, you guys share this with somebody else. Let them know that the podcast is out there. I'm sure that you guys are out there every once in a while and you talk to somebody about something and be like, oh, you know what? I listened to this podcast. They were talking about some crazy shit like that before. You guys should check it out. This is, look them up. Opposites Attract Podcast. It's not hard. That's a good, easy name to remember.
Right.
So let people know. And if you guys want to support the podcast in a different way, you guys can go to the Support the Show tab on our website. That'll take you out to our Amazon link. And Valentine's Day is coming up. If you guys are buying something for your significant other and you guys want to help out the show, you guys can buy it through our Amazon link and it will help us out. And another way you can help us is?
Or you can go to buymeacoffee.com/oppositepod and buy us a virtual drink. And you can subscribe to that on a monthly subscription as well.
Yep.
Shout out to Kelly and Ian. They are, so when I was talking to her about
the painting
and thanking her, she said, by the way, or she had called me and told me how amazing you are. And I'm like, I know. I married the man. No.
Thank you. You guys are awesome.
But she was talking about like the power of now and how you just simplified it. I'm like, that's what he does. Like, I remember telling you, you are a great trainer when it came to Legal Shield and you were helping our team. Like, just you make things, you simplify it to where it's just very easy to understand.
Thanks, babe.
And at the same time, she's like, I got you guys 4 more new listeners.
Dude, shout out to the new listeners.
Yes.
Yep. Thank you guys for
Whoever
listening to
you
the
are,
show.
we would love to hear from you. So feel free. You can call us.
Yeah, 480-331-9846. You guys can send us a question if you guys have a question that you guys want us to answer on the show.
Or a topic.
Or if you guys
like
have
if
a topic.
Hey, relationship, if you're in a relationship and you and your dude are having, some differences, how do we get over some things? Or maybe you
guys want us to help you settle a disagreement.
Whatever it may be.
Yeah. But yeah,
I'll be like heads or tails.
Yeah, and you can also be anonymous if there's something serious that you want to talk about. You can kind of mumble your people don't know what you sound like, but you don't have to leave your name. We'll leave it anonymous, and we can kind of talk about it. Yeah, or we don't even have to play it on the podcast. We can just talk about the situation. But if you guys want to give us a call, 480-338-98. Holy shit, 480-331-9846.
There you
Almost
go.
forgot for a second. So yeah, like I was saying, like sometimes you read the cover of this book and you figure out that you don't want to read the rest of the, you don't want to read the book to begin with. Like that's not a book I am interested in. Kind of like a person who's like, I'd rather not. Thanks, but no thanks.
Right.
And there was something that I watched earlier this week that I shared with you and the kids this morning. And it was a jiu-jitsu video about a guy that was trying to kidnap a kid.
Yes.
And somebody got on his back and like took his back like we do in jiu-jitsu and put him not in a choke, but in a way that he could hold him. And the guy really couldn't do anything. And he controlled him there until the police showed up and they took it from there. And they were talking about how, like, when it comes to something like that, I mean, you're within your right to beat the shit out of this person. I mean, they're trying to kidnap a kid and nobody's going to say anything to you for pounding this dude's head into the pavement.
Right.
Everybody's going to call you a hero for doing that.
Right.
And then the guy that was on the guy's back holding him got a call from the guy who apparently was trying to kidnap a kid's sister. And the dude that was trying to kidnap the kid wasn't like some kidnapper. He was a guy that had mental health issues, that was homeless, that thought that this was his kid for a reason. And the reason was that when he was 12, 13 years old, he walked in on his dad after he murdered his mom in their bedroom. Mm-hmm. And when I was watching this video, I got emotional watching it the first time. And the moment that I did was when he said that the kid walked out of the room and closed the door and didn't let his siblings in. Right. That got me. Like, he protected his siblings from what he saw. He saw his mom dead in the room.
Yeah. Jeez.
Then he was taken away from his dad, obviously, put into foster care, and he raised his siblings. The more I learn about people, it seems like there's a reason for why things are the way they are. Evil, like evil people. Jeffrey Dahmer, watch the documentary. Something happened to him.
Exactly.
Something happened to him. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it okay. But just understand that there are reasons for things. And I always say life is random.
It's funny because I've been telling you these things for quite some time, but you don't hear it from me. The same, like when you tell me something and then somebody else tells me and I'm like, oh yeah.
What do you mean? Like what? Like this?
Mm-hmm. People aren't born evil. It's not what's wrong with you. It's what happened to you.
Yeah. What have you been through?
What happened to you?
I was recently watching, I got to finish watching it. It's kind of dark, but like the Son of Sam thing, the serial killer that was in New York. But that's another one. Like, I wonder
what happened,
the backstory. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like watching Jeffrey Dahmer, that motherfucker used to eat people. Like literally eat them. And it was like, yeah, well, there was reasons for that. You know?
Doesn't
it's
make
crazy.
it right.
It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it okay. But at least it helps you understand. Like, dude, there's times like you can see our brains, our mind can sometimes be fragile. And if it breaks, it's fucking broken. You get in a car accident and you can break your mind and be a completely different person. Change your complete personality. You are not the same. Like, it's weird.
I remember back in the day when our children just started riding bikes. And you and I didn't grow up wearing helmets or those little, right?
No, hell no.
Right.
Nobody that our age that listens to we didn't wear helmets.
But it's pads, not something you thought was necessary for our kids either.
Yeah.
Do you now?
No. I'll take that risk on a fucking bike. You know what I won't do? Is push our kids to play football. As much as I love football and as much as I'm going to love watching the Packers kick the shit out of the 49ers today and move on to the NFC Championship. Like, that is something that I'm like, dude, it's not worth it. All it takes is one fucking shot, one good shot. And I've seen stars on the football field multiple times. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. I've never seen stars. Well, not from that. No.
It was every game. Every game, probably multiple times a game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane.
So yeah, we've had an incredible week, and I wanted to talk about a moment that I had with Joey. Was Thursday, a couple of days ago. I went with Joey to jiu-jitsu. It was just me and him, and I've been having I had a talk with him about just some things that we want to work on when it comes to him and jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. I'll mention that later, but we go to jiu-jitsu. He has a great class, and we're leaving, and you tell me that you and Audrey had went to go grab something to eat or whatever, and you're like, just go pick something up with Joey. And I'm like, okay, cool. So we decide we're going to Chipotle, and we're driving, and I was telling him, like, dude, you had a great class today. And Joey has made progress on a lot of different things. I think a big part of him not being where he needs to be is a big part our fault, just for not being consistent and keeping him in there and training and doing it. Because when you start and you stop and you start and you stop, you guys already know it doesn't have to be jiu-jitsu, it's life. You start and you stop and you start and you stop, and you never get the momentum going, and you never get to the next level, and it's just fucking spinning your wheels all the damn time.
Right.
And I told him, I was like, you did good today. I was like, we got to keep doing this. I was like, dude, you're turning 13 this year. Like you're getting
We're gonna have
big.
2 teenagers. 3, actually. Well, no, we have an adult.
And he's going to junior high next year. And I was like, or later this year. And I was like, dude, imagine what it would be like if I was talking to him about joining wrestling and all that. And none of these things sound fucking fun. Right?
Right.
And I was like, imagine what it would be like if, like, you trained hard in jiu-jitsu. Like, you know kids in your class that are small that will fuck other big kids up. Right? I mean, you have smaller kids that give you fucking fits. And I told him, I was like, why can't you give bigger kids fits? Why can't you be that kid that gives the bigger kids a fucking problem? There's no reason why you can't.
You didn't allow him to answer? To
Whatever,
get his train of thought?
Know.
No, I'm just asking.
I don't remember, babe. We're talking. I'm trying to share it back. I can't remember exactly what he said or exactly how I said it. But this is what we were talking about. And I was like, I want you to think about if you were, or when you get to that point where you have these skills because you've been in that. Like I throw down when I go to class. I can handle my business. I know what I'm doing. I was like, what would that feel like? What would it feel like if we start eating a little bit healthier and we get in better shape and we work out more and you know how to fight and now you're in good shape and we work on your school stuff and you learn and you get better with your reading, with your math, with everything. And you know what happens when you do that? You start to realize that even if I'm not good at something now, I can still learn it. I was like, how do you think you would feel if we get all these things going? He said I would feel invincible. Yeah. And I told him that's what we need to work on, So this is in the car. Then we get to Chipotle. We try mind control tricks on the people there so that they can give us more food.
This is what happens when I leave the kids alone with Miguel. Oh my God.
The mind control tricks that we use is we'll go to Chipotle and before they start serving our food. Oh my
God. How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yes.
They'll teach you how to do this.
That's a good book for mind control. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Oh my God.
pick it up on Amazon, buy it through our link. It'll
Yes.
help us out, and it'll teach
There
you
go.
mind control
Yes,
techniques.
Thanks.
So he walks up to the counter,
Oh my goodness.
and this is the technique. Before they even start serving, he says, "Last time I came here, the food was amazing. I always love coming to this one because you guys are the best. What would you like?" And then they just start piling the shit on.
Yeah.
You know? And we tag teamed them together. So after he said that, I was like, man, this kid loves this place. He loves coming here.
Yeah.
And the girl smiles, you know? So they freaking pile up the food. And then we go sit down and eat, right? After we mind control them. And then, so we're sitting there. And I told him, we started talking about going to jiu-jitsu. And I was telling him, I was like, you may not notice, or maybe you do, because I do show it. Dude, more often than not, I don't want to go to jiu-jitsu. I go regularly 3 times a week. But when it's time to go, I never want to go. Yeah. Because I'm not looking forward to getting my fucking head smashed in. I'm not looking forward to being exhausted with somebody on top of me. I'm not looking forward to somebody trying to choke me. But somewhere deep inside, I know this shit is good for me. This shit is helping me. And I was like, I guess that's what discipline is. It's doing the things that you don't want to do when you know they're good for you, and you do them anyway. I was like, so this is just part of life, you know? And the more we do these hard things, the better you feel.
Yeah. It was like last night when he was talking about the Garden of Eden and why she bit the apple to get the hell out, like to escape.
Yeah.
Right? Because imagine living and everything's perfect.
That's what...
Like everything's perfect. You don't have to try for nothing. Everything's handed to you. Ugh. How are you going to wake up every morning and just...
Your life is just blah.
You don't even know what you're capable of.
Yeah.
You suffer for nothing. It's just all handed. But that's the thing. That's what the people, that's what they think they want.
Right. That Brian Callen was talking about it last night.
They want.
You think you want all the money and all the security and you want the kind of money where you can fetch people. That's what he was saying. Fetch him and bring him to me. Remember?
Bring me something
Yeah.
that I have not got.
Don't give away all this shit. You guys got to go. If he's in your town, go check him out. He's fucking hilarious. But yes. But yeah, I mean, we need that struggle.
Yeah.
And when Brian Callen was talking about it yesterday, he's a dude that reads too. He reads a lot of books and stuff like that. That is also something that I learned that was shared in the book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. It was written by a psychologist, a Jewish psychologist that was in Auschwitz in the concentration camp. And awesome book. Yeah, check it out. I mean, that's one of the biggest classic psychology, human nature books. But yeah, like we need that.
When you look back, I don't know how much, when you look back just at our past, and I was talking to Dorothy about us because she was asking about us, like how we met and everything.
Yeah. She was like, did you guys meet in church?
And the struggles, yeah, that we had, that we were hit with. Oh my God, like early on.
Yeah.
The first year we were together.
Yeah.
The way we used to talk to each other. The way we used to treat each other.
Yeah.
Even though like the foundation, there was always love. right? Like there was
Yeah.
always love. But we definitely we're not who we are today.
No.
And what created us was the struggle.
Yeah.
All of it.
Right?
There were times where we didn't have money. And you bought me scissors.
So we can make more money.
So we can make more money. And we were both okay with that. It's not like I was hurt about it. Like,
Oh my God.
this is it.
Oh my God. Like so many women today. I'm fucking try to give this girl a pair of scissors. She's gonna fucking stab you with them. Like, what the fucking the headline. Man was stabbed with gifted scissors or some shit. Oh my God.
But like,
yeah.
And we stuck in there, man. And we did it. And even though we were not who we are today, when one of us was going through something, when your grandmother passed,
Yeah.
I was there. When my sister passed, you were there.
Yeah.
When we got the kids, we were there. We stepped up.
Yeah.
When I felt like I couldn't take or make another day, you were there to help me, to support me get through that.
Yeah.
When you lost your job, it's okay.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. We got this. We got this. It's okay.
And a big part of why and the reason why it was so hard. This is something that I listened to recently. And we were talking about it last week too, but I was listening to that video with Steve Hardison. Sorry, Kelly. I didn't listen to The Power of Now this week, but we'll be back on it. Because I've been listening to these Steve Hardison videos that Sonja's been sending me.
Don't use that as an excuse.
No, that's a good thing too. I'm just saying, we're learning over here. But he was talking about, and we talked about it last week, like creating your spouse in your mind, right?
Yes.
Or your partner in your mind. And like you said, there's always like underlying love there, regardless of how, we were with each other. Maybe we weren't treating each other the best way or whatever. There is an underlying love there because that's why we were together in the first place. And in my mind, I could be like, well, she was just trying to fucking piss me off. She did that because fucking this and that. As opposed to creating you differently. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. She wouldn't want to make me angry because she loves me. That puts you in a different state. But you get to choose what you think. And if what you think is that they're deliberately pissing you off and that they're fucking trying to this and that, then that's what you're creating of your spouse in your head.
Right.
And kind of related to that was that we are projections of ourselves in other people's minds, right? And nobody has a completely accurate projection. Only you do. People see you. Well, for one, we all know that we are different people around different people.
Mm-hmm.
So that is who they think we are.
They see us with their lens.
Or what we allow them to see.
Right.
And we know that's not completely us. And a lot of times, the only person that has a true picture of who you are is you.
Right.
Like, even your freaking parents may not know you like that.
Right.
You know?
And not only, and they also project the pain and trauma and hurt that they've been in.
Yeah.
So if there's a lot of distrust in their heart because of something that's happened to them, then that's the lens they see you in. And that's why the relationships are not working. That's why you've, have been having difficulty having relationships, because you're projecting your hurt and your trauma on that person.
Yeah. Yeah. And talking about projecting, last week I mentioned something that hurt my feelings about Joey and projecting anger onto him. After the podcast and after, thinking about these things, I had the thought, I'm like, why? Anger is not the only thing that we can project. Like, why, if we can project anger and it worked successfully, that shit worked. Why can't we project positive things and make those work too? And tell him that he is smart. He is very smart. He is very loving. Mm-hmm. He is a fucking badass. He is powerful. He is strong. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're telling your kid that they're angry, that they're messy, that they're so fucking, spaced out all the time, these things may be, they may have some truth to them, but you don't have to, you can choose not to focus on that shit. But the thing is that when you start focusing on it, you start reinforcing it. Yes. And that starts creating their reality.
Yep. It creates that limited belief within themselves.
And that will create that reality for them.
Yes.
That they are a mess, that they are spaced out, that they are angry.
Mm-hmm. And they will start living to that.
One thing that we have projected on Joey is that he is very loving, and he is that.
Yes.
Our kids are that.
Very kind. And they are that.
Right?
Yes.
Man.
How funny I said I had all 3 kids. Maybe our baby wasn't here with us.
We do have 3 kids.
We have 4 kids.
4 kids.
Yes. So we were sitting in the room in the office, and I wanted for all of us to meditate together. You were at work.
Yeah.
And Joey thinks very much like you. And maybe this is a conversation. I mean, he sees us. He knows that it's like we think similar, but different in our beliefs. Like I am very spiritual, and there are things that have happened to me that can't be explained. And I believe in Jesus. I believe that we believe in Jesus in the same manner. But for me, I believe in, there's something that I can't explain because of the things that have happened to me.
Yeah.
And Joey, I don't know if because of the way you speak or the way you share how you believe or what you think, if he feels that meditation is part of that, of what I believe, because he was very hesitant to do it. And then so I talked to him about what meditating is, and so I had the kids in here, and Audrey, she started breathing in, breathing out, and just kind of going with, and he noticed that she started going with, and I got her to a state and had her come to a place of joy, just being joyful. And I took her back to her very first kiss with
her boyfriend.
With her boyfriend. And it was so cute watching her, because my eyes are open and Joey's eyes are open, and he's trying, but he has one eye open, right? And he's witnessing me with her. And a tear comes down. And we're just breathing
On her?
in. Yeah. And I put my hand on her heart. And, I bring her back, just wiggle your fingers and come back. And she was like, how was that? She's like, it was good. Like she's like, I don't believe I cried. I'm like, it was just one tear.
Yeah.
And they were both going to get up to go. And I said, Joey, I would like for you to stay with me. And he's like, okay. So Audrey leaves and I'm talking to him. And I'm like, would you like to try again? And he said, yes. I said, okay. I said, close your eyes. Let's relax. Let's breathe in, take a deep breath in and release. And I have him do that about 5 times. And I take him back to the time when the very first time he solved a Rubik's Cube. And how proud he felt that after all these tries and after being so impatient with himself, he finally solved this Rubik's Cube. And I put my hand on his heart. And I said, and then I told him, you were coming to Daddy and I. So proud. Of course, I'm talking to him. It's different. But, you came to Daddy and I and you're super excited. Mom, Dad, look, I solved a Rubik's Cube. And after you solved that one Rubik's Cube,
you've been tearing it up.
We bought you another one and you solved it. We bought you another one and you solved it.
A bigger one, more pieces, different pieces, different shapes.
And you're a brilliant young man. Like just started breathing life into him.
How do we talk to our kids? We got to be careful.
And then, I brought him back and I'm like, how was that? And he's like, He's like, I'm great at holding my emotions back. I'm like, Joey, that's not a good thing.
We still got work to do with this. Oh my God. Yeah. No, I do. I need to talk to him about that. Like just because even though I do feel the way I feel, I'm not opposed to like trying things, like certain things at a certain point. Like, I mean, we have a friend that seems to have ghosts. And you know how I feel. Like, I've had the thought of like, dude, I'll go sleep in your house. Like, I'll fucking sleep in that room. I'll sleep sound. I don't give a fuck. Yeah. And I have a pretty good feeling that I'll go and sleep okay. But at the same time, I don't care to. Like, I don't have to do. I'd rather sleep with you. Do you know what I mean?
Better.
Instead of, you know what I'm.
Instead of a ghost.
But in a way, like I want to do it.
Right.
Yeah. But it's like I'm not opposed to. I don't know if it's the same thing, but I'm not opposed to it. And some things it's like I'm not fucking doing that. And some things are like, well, I'll give it a shot. Let's see what happens. Like there's no harm in doing this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, and before you started editing so much, like you would go with us to church, Yeah. And so, yeah, but I think that would be a good conversation.
Yep. And a lot of other conversations that we'll bring to you guys later on. Thanks you guys for being with us. Make sure you guys go to our website, oppositesattractpodcast.com. Like I said before, the best thing that you guys could do is share this with somebody else. If you guys want to support the show, click on the support the show tab and buy stuff through our link. You can go to buymeacoffee.com/oppositepod. And definitely appreciate you guys following us and supporting us.
Thank you guys for your love. Thank you for your support. Thank you for watching Opposites Attract Podcast.
Where we get better
together.
Bye.